the ring was my safe place. That's, I mean, believe it or not, like
No,
getting hit, punching somebody was my safe place. That's how difficult that struggling. That's how much the struggle was, outside the ring.
So I actually want to start with something a little unconventional. When I was telling my team who I was interviewing next, one of them made a comment to me, and the comment was, they said, "Oh, he's a somebody." And my first reaction was like, yeah, he is, and then afterwards I started thinking about it, and I'm like, and the reason I bring this up is because it's relevant to the documentary. I'm thinking, like, what makes someone somebody, right?
Right.
Like, is it how much money you have? Is it how popular you are? Is it like how many people show up to your funeral? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or is it how many people, like, do you have people in your life who love you, not because of what you could give them or because of what you've achieved, but simply because of who you are, like your heart, your essence. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yes. I mean, yeah, we're all somebody, right? And it's funny you say that, because I was always somebody when I was at the height of my career, when I got back from the Olympics and won world titles, and like I felt I was somebody to everybody. Like everybody knew who I was. Everybody like knew, okay, the golden boy, Oscar, my God, the gold medalist, the world champion. So I was somebody. And now that I'm going through this process of finding myself, right? It's like, I don't need that validation anymore. It's like, of course I'm somebody. I'm somebody to somebody who loves me. I'm somebody to somebody who really cares for me and wants to make time to know me. And, so that's what I care about. Like, that's who I'm somebody to now. I'm not just somebody because I'm the golden boy,
Right. I feel like in your film, that's all you, like when you were talking about your life from childhood and then through the height of your career and everything, it was like, that's all you wanted. You wanted someone to say, I love you, I see you, I hear you. You're important to me just because you're you.
Sure. And all these years, I was just going through the motion, training, fighting, making appearances, media, this, that, getting pulled left and right, traveling. And I just never had the chance to say, hello, I'm right here. Yeah. Do you know who I really am? Do you care to even know? And the years go by so fast when you're living that moment every single day, every single minute, literally, of my life. I was always surrounded by people all the time. And a lot of times people that I didn't even know. And so what people have to realize is that when you're by yourself and you have those thoughts in your head, and where people are not pulling you left and right, and you're not the golden boy, like, who are you? Right. And so after I retired from boxing, I kind of lost myself. I lost my identity. I lost who I was, this conditioned kid at 6 years old who had to be the champion of the world for everybody.
That was crazy to me, by the way, that in the beginning of the docuseries, when there's video footage of you as a 6-year-old in a boxing ring fighting in amateur fights. Yeah. I mean, I have a son, and I'm looking back to when he was in first grade, and I'm like, was that just like your normal at that age? Like you didn't know anything different?
It became normal. It became normal because that's exactly what I had to do. That's what my father forced me to do. And at that age, when I won my first fight at 6 years old, like my life changed. It was crazy. My life changed because now, and I can feel it as I get older. I'm talking about like 10, 11, 12 years old. I'm feeling like my family changing towards me. Now I become like this commodity, like, wait, if I help little Oscar right now as a kid and buy him like some boxing gloves or little hand wraps, then maybe he'll remember and he can like he can help me out when he's older, when he has money, when like I felt like that all my life.
Wow. So it's so interesting that you say that, because my son he's a basketball player, but I always make sure to say, like, I'm proud of you just because you're you. The basketball is great because he practices 24 hours a day. Like, the basketball's great, or if you get a good grade in school, that's great, but I'm proud of you just because you're you. And I think that that's so important. And I don't know if you have anybody in your life who says that to you now. I would hope that you do, you know?
Yeah, I have my girlfriend, my one person that tells me, I mean, she's my best friend now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, I mean, it's not funny, but when she tells me all the time, like, my gosh, you're doing great. You're good. You're a great person. I'm proud of you. And there's a part of me that's like, wait, why are you telling me this? Are you sure? You know, it's like it's that kid that wants to come out, and because I was conditioned so much, you know, it's like it wasn't love back then. It was just like, okay, you know, like, Oscar's the chosen one. Let's see what we can get out of it.
Well, what's crazy is that it was prophetic in a way. Like, your father said to you, "You're the one. You're going to take us out of these circumstances."
Sure.
But what's crazy about it is that you did become extraordinarily wealthy, and you did, in fact, then go back and give back to the people of East LA.
Right.
And it's like, that's a lot to put on a kid, but at the same time, he was right. It's a very
exactly.
You know.
Yeah, it is very strange, and it's those exact demons that I had to be fighting with all the time. The confusion. My life has been so confusing because I wasn't like brought up, and like nobody gave me a handbook. After I won the gold medal, I was 18 years old. Like, nobody gave me a handbook and say, okay, this is what your life is going to be. These are the correct decisions you're going to make. This is right from wrong. Like, nobody ever explained to me what life is all about. Like, I never had my mother sit me down, or my father tell me, son, you know, this is going to happen in life. And like, I never had that. I had to learn along the way. And when
learning along the way with when you're, I think you said you were in your, how old were you when you got your first $20 million check?
Wow, I was like 22.
Okay, so you're 22, you're learning along the way, and you're given this huge sum of money and no instructions on like how to navigate that.
Right. And all I want to do is just have fun. All I want to do is like,
of course,
people who are around me. Let's go travel. Let's do this. And like, it's reckless. Yeah, it's reckless. And I'm just like very fortunate that I'm even still alive. I mean, it's been, I think I've thought about committing suicide 3 times. I think I've been depressed like 10 times over in my life. And luckily I did have boxing for an outlet. I mean, the ring was my safe place. I mean, believe it or not, like getting hit, punching somebody was my safe place. That's how difficult and struggling. That's how much the struggle was, you know, outside the ring. So,
like, is it that you were in the zone when you were doing that? Like, everything else went away and you're in the zone, or is it a way to get the anger and the rage out?
Yeah, it's a way to get the anger and the rage out. I mean, I remember picturing my mom's face in my opponents, like, to literally like just get angry. That's how bad it was at one point. And I'm lucky that I was able to manage it and to kind of control it just inside the ring, to have it inside the ring, not outside the ring, because who knows what I would have done, you know? I mean, who knows?
So when I interviewed Mike Tyson years ago, and he said to me something that I always, sometimes like when people tell me things and I always remember them. He said, I came to the conclusion at a young age that you can't be the best and be happy. So I chose to be the best and sacrifice my happiness.
No.
Is that something that you can identify with or that you agree with?
I do agree with it now, but I didn't realize what was happening as I was becoming this world champion, as I was becoming an Olympic gold medalist, as I was winning. I didn't really understand why I was winning. And I didn't understand why why I have this anger. Like I didn't really know it back then. It was just all normal. You know, I was abused at home, physically and emotionally, but I just kept living my life. I would go to school as a kid, and I was always the quiet one. I never spoke. I was the shy one, the kid who never had money or always made fun of. And boxing, for a strange reason, was my happy place. It's like it's where I can get beat up and hit you back. It's psychologically it kind of like screwed with me, but I never thought that I never thought that I was unhappy, you know, not once in my life. I just never thought that. It was so normal to be who I was as a kid, you know.
So I want to talk about fatherhood. You have three kids?
I have 6 kids.
6 kids. Okay.
Yeah, I have 3 older kids and 3 younger kids.
Okay. So there's 3 older kids were in the documentary. They were interviewed. Your first child, Atiana, with Shanna Moakler.
Yeah.
What was it about? And I'm asking about her to start with because she was your firstborn. What was it about fatherhood that first time around that spooked you to the point where you said, okay, I'm going to give this over to Shanna and to Travis Barker, and I'm just going to kind of divorce myself from this situation, even though I'm able-bodied, I'm alive, I'm in the same city.
Sure.
What happened?
I basically ran away. I basically was scared. I was fearful. I did try to be a father like full time for a few years, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was, I mean, to raise a little girl, but there came a point where it's like you ask yourself, wait a minute, like you're not worthy of this. You know, you try to convince yourself that you're not worthy of this, that love is not possible, you know, in your life because of what I lived, of not receiving that love when I was a kid. Like my father never told me he loved me. My mother never told me she loved me. She never like really gave me a hug. And, you know, I mean, when I would cry, she would start hitting me. That's how bad it was. But
Did she give you I'll give you something to cry about?
Oh, I got that all the time. I got that all the time. But it's like, you know, I know I am this nice guy and I know I can be a father, but then there comes a point where it's like, then you try to convince yourself, wait a minute, no, this is not you. This is scary. This is like, you're not worthy of this. Like you know, you're not worthy of giving love. And then you start feeling sorry for yourself, and then your life just starts spiraling, and then you're lost. And then all you do is want to drink and do drugs and this and that and escape. Luckily for me, when I was boxing, when I was fighting all the way to the end, you know, it kept me in line. Like I didn't use drugs. I didn't drink. I didn't until the last fight with Manny Pacquiao. That's when I knew it was over and I started drinking. But I always felt like I wasn't worthy of anything. I always felt I wasn't worthy of love.
Wow. So it's like you have this little baby or this toddler who's looking up at you, and you feel like I'm not worthy to raise this child. I'm not worthy to call myself father of this.
Yeah, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. Yeah.
Did you check in with them over the years to see how she was doing?
Yeah. No, yeah, it wasn't like, I mean, I was always there, but not there, you know? It was, you know, yeah, it wasn't like your typical, okay, you know, relationship with the father, the mother, and 24/7. It wasn't like that. But yeah, I'm obviously she's my daughter, and I love her, and you know, you have to check in. Obviously, you have to worry. You have to, even though I was apart, I felt I was always close, you know.
Okay.
But I just didn't feel like I was worthy enough to do the job.
Okay. I get it, because when I was watching, and I'm looking at Atiana, and I'm looking at Jacob and Devin, and I'm thinking, as a parent, I'm thinking, like, how do you do that? How do you do that? And my mind is going to a judgmental place.
Sure.
And I'm like, no. I want to have compassion, and because there's always a reason, right? There's always a
Sure.
reason why.
Yeah.
And childhood trauma is more times than not the reason.
Sure.
So, I mean, like, how do you approach fatherhood now as an older man with younger children? How is it different now?
Yeah. I'm worthy of it. I'm right here. They're older kids now, and it's like, or young adults. And I let them know that I love them. Every time I see them, I hug them, I kiss them, I do whatever I can. The one thing that I've realized is that life is all about balance now. Everything's about balance. I can't, there was a point where it's like, okay, my kids would ask for something and I would be the first one to like give them money. Here you go, do whatever you want. I'll buy you a car, this, that. So that was the guilt in me.
Yeah.
Of those years that I was absent. Right. And so, but now it's like, it's all balanced now. Now it's about giving my kids information, knowledge, balancing everything out. My other kid, Jacob, just recently told me, Dad, I want a job. I want to work at your company. I was like, no, you're not. You can't. You don't. First of all, you're not trained for this. I put you through school, through college, through SC to go learn business, and and he got so pissed off at me, this and that, and da. And then like a few months later, I mean, we were in contact, but a few months later, he goes, Dad, thank you. I have a job now. I'm like this tech traveling the world. And so it's like, There's tough love, there's good love. It's all balance, and it's all balance. And the fact that I've not given up on myself allows me today to be present. And that's what I'm very, very grateful for, because if I didn't take care of myself, then who knows where I would be? Who knows what type of relationship I would have with my kids? Who knows? Maybe I would self-destruct. Who knows? But I'm glad that I got the bull by the horns,
So have you forgiven your dad for, I guess, what you feel is, that you didn't get, I guess, a conventional childhood? I mean,
Sure.
Where are you with that?
So I'll start with my mother.
Okay.
Because she passed in 91. And so just recently, a few years ago, I went to my mom's grave and I had this big old letter, 10 pages. And so I go to her grave and I just start crying. And the first words from my mouth were, I fucking hate you. Like, I was so emotional of just what she did to me, like, and the love that she didn't give me. But at the end, I was just so compassionate. And I told her, Mom, you know what? Thank you. And I love you. And I felt so free. So I took care of that relationship there. Right. Yeah. And so with my father, he's still alive. He's still a hard ass. He's still like who he is. I mean, you saw him on the film. He's a hard man. So it's funny because all these recent years, like I've been wanting to tell my father, I love you, and I just couldn't do it. I didn't know how to do it. And I would play it in my head. And in my head, I always thought that he's going to like, just say, what the hell are you talking about? What are you telling me I love you for? Like, we're macho. And so I remember one day a few years ago going up to him and I was like, you know what, Dad, I love you. And I got him. I hugged him and he told me back, I love you. And he started crying. And so it was like, it wasn't this in my head. I thought he was going to punch me. In my head, I kept on playing like over and over. Oh my God, he's going to tell me something like, man up, or, we don't use love in our household,
Mm-hmm.
But it was the opposite. And so now it's like, so I freed myself from my father now, like now I'm okay with it. Now I'm okay with my father. When he told me he loves me, I'm okay with him now. It's like, now I understand that that's how he grew up.
Yeah.
That's what he learned. That's who he is. I'm not going to be that person. So I'm free from my past demons. And I did a lot of work. I had to work a lot. I had to do a lot of therapy. I went through rehab. I don't know how many times.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because I didn't belong there, or I did belong there, but I did it. And all that work, it's like, it gives you the courage to just, be yourself.
Yeah. So that narrative in the film and in your career, where at the beginning of your career, you won the gold medal, you started winning all these championships, and every interview you do, they would ask you about your mom, and they would say, oh, your mom's dying wish was that you would win the gold medal. And that was the narrative that was kind of packaged together. Sure. And you made a point to say in the film, it was all bullshit.
That was the whole lie. Yeah.
That was all a lie. Who manufactured that whole thing? Like, who put that together?
It just happened. I remember when I won the gold medal, I was on the podium and the national anthem was playing and I was just numb. I was like, I didn't know. I couldn't cry. I couldn't laugh. I couldn't smile. I was just like picturing her face, like just numb. And I got out of the ring and the commentator, I think it was on NBC, told me, so how do you feel after doing it for your mom? And that's when it took off. It's like, I was like, okay, I'm this shy kid. I'm this kid from East LA who big media, it's like instant success. Like, I don't know how to act in front of the camera. I don't know what to say, so you just go with it.
You just go with it.
And it just becomes like, it becomes overwhelming. And it's like, now that everybody's saying it, like, you don't want to say, wait a minute, I didn't say that. You don't want to disappoint people.
Right.
So yeah, it all just became like this lie,
My favorite line in the whole film, and I don't remember the gentleman who said it. You probably do. Somebody who was being interviewed said, "There's nothing more powerful than telling the truth." And I love that. Do you know who it was who said that in the film? We said, "There's nothing more powerful than telling the truth."
It might have been Don Cholain Rivero, who was my trainer.
Okay.
At the time, he trained me for one of my big fights. I think it was the Julio Cesar Chavez fight, and they called him the Professor.
Okay.
And it was somebody that I looked up to very much. Yeah.
I love that line, because once you tell the truth, it's like, for better or for worse, you're free, because nobody can hold anything over your head anymore.
Exactly. You set yourself free, and, living a life for all these years. I mean, look, I've always been living for somebody else, and I finally can live for myself, and it's never too late. Yeah. It's just never too late. And I'm living my life, and I'm living my life where there's nothing on me anymore. It's like, I'm who I am, whether you like me or not. It's like, this is who I am, and I'm not that bad of a guy.
So with Golden Boy Promotions, because you struggled with mental health, you struggled with substance abuse, you struggled a lot throughout your athletic career. Do you stay on top of the mental and overall well-being of your fighters that you promote?
Sure. And I give help to the fighters who ask for it. Mm-hmm. I think we're living a different time, and it's obviously a whole new generation where there is more compassion, where there is more love, in the household. But still, when you're a fighter, when you're winning tournaments, and when you're put in that pedestal and you have that pressure in you, I can't imagine what they're going through. So if you ask me for help, I'm going to be more than happy to help you out and give you my experience and my take on what I lived. But you only have to ask for it. Like, I can't force it upon you, I can't come in and say, well, I live this and I live that, and so therefore you should live like this too. Like it's, no, it's like the way it works is you have to ask it yourself. And that's exactly what I did after so many years. I'm 50 years old and I finally asked for help. So it's never too late.
So I want to ask you about, because it was in the film, I want to ask you about some of the sexual assault lawsuits that came your way. I don't get it. It's confusing to me. It doesn't jive with the person I'm looking at right now. Like I see a very gentle, pure soul.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to understand, what is that about? Is it that you are just maybe not cued into somebody else's body language or how they're feeling, their nonverbal communication cues, because you're just up here and you're just not thinking about the other person per se, but it's not something that's intentional? Like, what is it? Where's the disconnect? What was going on there?
No, look, first of all, I mean, I would never kill a fly, or even, if I see an ant out of place in the floor, I'll that's just who I am. But I think that, look, I put myself in situations where I was vulnerable, I think. Like, for instance, okay, you have this kid, young, money, he's outgoing, this, that, it's like, if I put myself in a situation where people are going to think, oh, shoot, wait, I can take advantage of this kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not that person, it's just not me, and so but if you put yourself in that situation, then somebody's bound to take advantage of you. Somebody's bound to take advantage of that situation, of that kid who is naive, who is young, who has money, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, I've never laid my hands on anybody. I would never ever do that. I would never mistreat anybody. It's just not in my nature. It's not the way I grew up. I didn't see that in my household. I didn't see that. My father, my mother, they had a distant relationship, but it was never abusive. It was never physical. It was never, so I didn't grow up with that. On the contrary, it's like, all I needed was love. All I needed was a hug. That's all. So all these accusations or whatever, that's all they were, is accusations.
Were you targeted financially? Is that?
Well, that was the goal. I would assume. I would assume that was the goal. But there's a reason why things were dropped, or things were dropped by the system or whatever. I mean, there's reasons for that. I mean, I've just, it's anybody who knows me, that would never, ever, ever be me.
Okay. And do you pray? And if so, who or what do you pray to?
I used to pray a lot. Okay. I used to pray a lot. My gosh, my God, please help me, please this. But I don't know, I still believe in my God, because my higher power, but now that I'm in like this state of mind for a few years now that I'm at peace with myself, now that I've done all the work and I continue doing the work, because every day is a learning process. I don't find myself like praying the way I used to pray. Now it's like I reassure myself, and I convince myself, and I tell myself, like, you know what, today's going to be a great day. You're a good person. Go work hard. Go just be a good guy. That's it. So there's really not much like praying, like before. Before I was lost. Before I was like, my gosh,
help.
Please, I need your help. And nothing happened. It's like, I have to make it happen. So now it's like, I give myself, like, I wake up in the morning, every single morning. And my girlfriend, she knows it. It's like, I take time for myself right there when I wake up, and I just play the day out, and okay, you're going to, do this and just be you. Just be you. Mm-hmm. And that's been, that's been working for me. It's been, the balance I have in my life now is just incredible.
Have you mastered anything in your life? I know you mastered boxing, but like, is there anything, like, what do you think you have mastered in this life so far? And what do you think remains a work in progress for you?
I literally think life is a big old work in progress. I think it's like I play a lot of golf, and in golf, you can never master the game. It's impossible, because if you shoot a low score, you can always shoot lower. I mean, that's just, even Tiger Woods never mastered the game. He can always get better. You can always shoot a better score. And I think life is like that. I think life, no matter what, no matter if you're on top of the mountain, no matter you have everything you want, and life is great, and your family but there's always something that you can work on, whether it's inside, whether it's at home, whether it's in the office with yourself. There's always like life is just all about just growing and learning and becoming better and good with yourself. Like I'm always searching to find peace every single day.
Yeah.
And it's always a learning process. It's always work every single day.
I want to talk about what you mentioned before briefly. You said that at 3 different times in your life, you felt suicidal. How did you, and the reason I think it's important is because this is a problem that we're having in epidemic proportions now, right? And a lot of times it's not the person, it's not the usual suspect. It's not the person who's down on his luck and things that aren't going, it's a lot of times it's somebody who seems like they just have it all and everything's just great. And then boom. So if you could share any wisdom about that, how did you work your way out of that dark place?
Wow. It took a lot of work, a lot of ups and downs. And that's why I say I'm very fortunate to just be alive, because it could have ended quickly and easy at any point of my life. I think the number one rule that people should consider is to put yourself first. I think back then, when I was pleasing everybody else, and even kids today, they want to please their schoolmates. They have the pressure of being cool. They have the pressure of like, my family has money and this and that. And when something happens, they snap, right? Because they can handle the pressure. I think that if you think about yourself first and put yourself first and make yourself happy first, then everything will unfold. Then everything else is manageable, everything else is a bit easier to handle. But you have to do that work for yourself. You have to really sit down with yourself and ask yourself the tough questions. It's all about communication.
You can listen to this entire episode and other interviews of mine by going to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and downloading and subscribing to the Allison Interviews Podcast.